Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, helping higher education marketing leaders share knowledge about learning, strategies, and tactics that are relevant today. See what you can learn today by listening to one of our episodes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast hosted by Concept 3D. If you like our content, please follow and subscribe to us. As always, I'm Shiro Hattori, your host, and I'm really excited today to talk about why you should scale 3/4 marketing and not just paid media. And for the conversation, I'm very thrilled to have Christian Ponce join us today. I actually had the opportunity to meet him in person at AMA 3 weeks ago in Vegas. So it was really great to meet Christian. He's currently serving as Associate Vice President for Marketing at Old Dominion University. Welcome to the show, Christian.
Thank you, Shira. Thank you for having me in your show. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
And I appreciate you. I love the topic you presented on, which is on multicultural marketing. So I love that. Can you also tell us a little bit about why you love higher ed?
Absolutely. I think higher ed has the best product known to mankind, which is education and the ability to transform your life in pretty much every industry out there.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I get this response a lot, and my personal network is still all based from my alma mater. So it's very, very valuable for me as well.
That's great.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your role and your background as well?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. So I am currently serving as Associate Vice President for Marketing at Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. It's a coastal area, beautiful place. This is actually my 25th year. 24th year in the business. I started in 2000. And I was born and raised in Honduras, Central America, and I came to the United States as an international student. So I didn't know that I was going to be so incredibly fortunate in this country that it would adopt me and give me a family and give me a career. That was not the plan, but very quickly, when I graduated from college, before I graduated, the International Student Office called me and they said, "Christian, I want to talk to you." And they said, "You're an international student, you're graduating, you have talked to us about your plans to go back." I wanted to actually be a news anchor. That was
Wow.
my dream. I was a broadcasting major, and I thought I was going to be that person on front of the camera. But they said, "Would you be interested in staying in the United States for 1 year, and you can take advantage of something called optional practicum training, which is a work permit to use it in your field." Or learn. So I said, okay. And I landed my first job as a bilingual admission counselor in a private college. And long story short, the president of the college took a liking of me. I was so young, and he said, "What are you doing?" At that point, I already had plans to pursue a master's in marketing. And I said that to this person, and he said, "Okay, say no more." So they paid for my master's and promoted
Wow.
me to associate director of marketing. That was my first love with higher ed. Then in that position, one of the partners of the advertising agency that had the university's account recruited me, and that was my transition into the advertising agency world for 10 years. Then in 2010, I transitioned back into higher education. I've been doing it for 14 years and never looked back.
That's
So
amazing.
that
And,
is
and
kind of my
where did you
profession.
attend, by the way?
I went to Drury College and graduated from Drury University.
Gotcha.
So at Drury University now they have a few master's programs, and they were very generous and offered me a good scholarship. And it's a small private university in Springfield, Missouri, about 3.5 hours southwest of St. Louis.
Well, I'm really grateful for them because we're sitting here talking today about higher ed marketing. So
Well,
what a
thank you.
fantastic story.
Thank you so much.
Speaking of other things that are amazing in marketing, I really liked your concept around 3/4 marketing. So
Yes.
could you tell us a little bit more about what this is?
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to do that. So let me ask you a question real quick. I know you're the interviewer right now, but let me ask you a question. Do you like pie?
Pie. Yes, I love pie.
What is your favorite pie?
Probably pumpkin pie with
Okay.
a crusty crust and whipped cream on top.
Okay, love it. Imagine that delicious pumpkin pie, just like you want it, and you divide that in four pieces, right? One piece of that would be paid media. The other three are the three quarters resting that we need to think that remaining pieces that we need to think about: earned media, owned media, and shared media. That's three-quarter media. And if you'd like me to discuss a little bit about each one of them, I'm more than happy to talk to you about that.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So own media basically is anything and everything that you own. Your website, a podcast like this, videos, a beautiful blog that you have, your newsletter, everything that you own. The main benefit is 100% control and 100% placement assured, right? So you have 100% control of the content, 100% control of the distribution channels, 100% of the placement and the timing when you use it. So that is own media. Then shared media refers to basically social media across all platforms, and it's great for engagement. Whether it's website, whether it's Facebook or uh, Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn or whatever it is, those social media channels in which you can, promote your brand, and it's fantastic for engagement with likes, with shares, with comments. It's great for feedback. Then we can talk about earned media. Earned media is the function of public relations. In media relations is free publicity, and that is the main benefit. The challenge of that is coverage. The main benefit, as I said earlier, of owned media is that you had 1% control and ownership of your distribution channels and your content and the placement and the timing of it. The main challenge of owned media is that you have to build your own audience. Like you and your podcast here, Shira, you have had to build your own audience, and that takes time, but it's worth it. With shared media, obviously, the main benefit is engagement, right? I'm going to date myself a little bit here. When I began my career, that was before social media, believe it or not. So for us as marketers, as I said earlier, I spent the first 10 years in advertising and doing corporate marketing for our clients. So in order for us to have feedback, we needed to rely 100% on focus groups and surveys. Now you can have feedback immediately, almost asynchronous feedback. It's amazing. So that's a great benefit. Well, the challenge is sometimes because people have access to your channels. Sometimes there's trolls and negativity. So that's a challenge to be aware of. And with earned media, I mean, really, the main benefit is the reputation and the credibility that it has. It's fantastic for your credibility and reputation, and it's free publicity. The challenge is to get coverage. You have to have news that are worth of being covered about your institution. So I want to talk a little bit about those.
That's amazing. And thanks for laying it all out for me. And I was curious actually what shared media would have been before social. So I'm glad you answered my question there, because I wasn't actually quite sure, because when I started my career, social media was already a thing, right? And so I
Right.
feel like shared has always been social for me.
But I think that some people considered social media part of earned media. I don't think it is, to be honest, just because you're not earning it. Nobody's covering it for you. You're covering it for yourself. So it's more like shared media. And earned media would be news coverage and public relations, truly earned content that people actually publish for you. Third parties, news outlets or whatever.
I know you have a lot of experience with earned media. I think you gave me some advice in our prior call about earned media and how quantity is not the answer and quality is, right? Could you
Yes,
tell us a
yes.
little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. I really started becoming really passionate about this, what I call three quarters marketing, because when I was CMO of a small private university in Ohio, my budget was $500,000. And that's the biggest budgets they ever had when I got there. And as you can imagine, that's not a whole lot of money. It's not. So I started thinking with my team about how can we really stretch this budget and making some real important decisions about how to invest it. I don't like to say spend it. I like to say invest it because I believe in investing in our brand. So that's when we start thinking about the three quarters media. Okay, what kind of stories are supporting our brand strategy? What kind of news could support our brand campaign and brand strategy? And that's what I think is so important to pay attention to these other types of media. Okay, so it's very important to have a strategy to how to integrate all of them, and this is what we call integrated marketing communications, right? It's a term that I've heard that we've used for the past 20 years. Actually, my master's is in integrated marketing communications, and I think that you need to be very strategic about the news and the stories that you want out. I think those stories should support your brand. I think those stories should support your brand personality and pillars. Let's say that university or college has four pillars. One of them can be, let's say, for the sake of discussion, entrepreneurship, innovation, academic excellence, and let's say that another one could be community outreach. Is something that you really believe in as part of your university. Then the story should support that. You know, the paid marketing obviously will talk about that and find examples to build your brand, but your stories should support that. So if one of your pillars is definitely not animal research, heaven forbid, why would you talk about that? And I'll say that too, that in terms of pay media, if you have $100 million or several $1 million in your budget, congratulations. I think that's wonderful, but most of us aren't. So the beautiful thing about paid media is that it's the fastest way to build your brand. And I want to be abundantly clear that I'm a huge believer in paid media, and it's actually a necessity. I don't think that you can truly build a brand without it, to be candid, just because of the time that it takes. And word of mouth is fantastic, but it's too slow. So the good thing with social media is that it's word of mouth on steroids. That's what I call it. So if you're able to use both in sync, in tandem, you're doing a great job.
No, I like the clarification, and what you said is about paid being the quickest way to get going, right?
Yes.
I think about, as a marketer myself, I think about this all the time. And I think we discussed this before, but typically, if you do have budget, it tends to go towards paid because it usually has quick results, so you can analyze them quicker. You can get your content out there, and you see the direct results immediately, and it's easier, right? And I think a lot of times it's a lot harder to launch a podcast or a YouTube channel, because as an own channel, it's very, very difficult to keep going, to launch, to build your audience, like you said. And often I feel like paid almost gets too much eyeballs because it's easy, and it's not as hard as the other channels. And just because it's easy doesn't mean it's the right choice, right?
And it's effective, and it's practical, and it's if used well, obviously, you will be successful. Now, just because you can reach someone doesn't mean you're reaching them, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
In other words, if you're using search and we're using programmatic advertising and all of that, for sure, technology allows us now to really target people at individual level. But let's don't forget about the principles of brand building and development, the messaging, the strategy, the differentiation. All of that is important. And I think the other types of media also help to support that. For instance, if you're thinking about the traditional advertising, the one that we saw 20 years ago, that you have these incredible concepts that were clever, and then you just put them out there, and without any how can I say, backing, if you will. You just have. I remember a car brand. I won't say which one, but a car brand who had a bunch of cars, and one of them was red. It said different. That was the campaign, different. My point is that now research shows that Generation Alpha, they're not, even Gen Z, they're not into the traditional advertising in the way that we used to see it. They want to understand and believe what you're saying. So I think that right now, if you are able to use paid with storytelling and those brand proofs and testimonials, I think that's a great thing. And I think a lot of us marketers are beginning to really rely on that for our advertising.
Yeah, no, this is great. And I went to another session at AMA that talked about research about how the student journey into matriculation, and the pathway they saw still most common was actually a student would search about a program or a school or schools as a general keyword, and they would figure out about an institution through search, and maybe your paid advertisement would come up there. Then they'd go to your website, which is an own channel,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then to actually solidify their decision or feel like they belong or feel connected to the school, the campus, and the community and the faculty was more on shared, which was YouTube channels, social channels, and that's really what like helped them feel like they could be there. But that was the pathway. Was it was from uh, the paid slash search to owned,
Mm-hmm.
which is website, and then social channels, so which was shared. So I love this that we're talking about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as marketers, we need to work in tandem with our admission partners and enrollment
Mm-hmm.
partners and with our public relations partners. Because I think as marketers, we need to really work hard and be very intentional about dismantling silos. Here's why. Like, for example, um, as marketing, most likely, if you're the CMO or have a big role in marketing, most likely your job is going to be focused around digital strategy, advertising, marketing. And when you're working with your partners and putting that creative brief and media plan together and all of that, make sure you bring in your PR partner and communications partner to create a even more robust marketing communications plan, because the storytelling that they can create for you is what is going to make your campaign more successful. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I just had this conversation with my colleague, my AVP for public relations here earlier on today, and we just talked about how we're doing 6 campaigns simultaneously and how we need to create storytelling for all those. So we're going to be working hand in hand on that.
That's amazing. Well, we can get started on our next topic, but we will tie everything together here at the end. So I did attend your session, which was on multicultural marketing at AMA. Can you tell us a little bit more about what multicultural marketing is?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question, because a lot of people, I would say many people, not a lot of people, but many people still don't differentiate or understand the difference between multicultural marketing and inclusive communications, and they're not the same. They're similar, but they're not the same. Multicultural marketing is marketing, and it involves paid media. It involves all the media types, if you want to, but it involves paid media, and it has everything to do with aiming your marketing a specific marketing segment or population segment, just the same way that you would segment some advertising to women, or you would skew men on your advertising, or teenagers, like for any different products and different categories like cars or even checking accounts or whatever. Multicultural marketing is the same, except that you're skewing your marketing and addressing people from different ethnics and cultures and religions and sex orientations and genders and countries of origin and languages, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why the multicultural marketing comes from. On the other hand, inclusive communications is everything that has to do with ensuring that your communications makes people feel welcome in your organization, provides a sense of belonging and appreciation for everyone. It has to do more with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and is extremely important. And it should be worked hand in hand with your multicultural marketing, because once you reach those families and those students from different cultures, you want to make sure they feel welcome in your institution, and you want to make sure that there's programming that makes them feel that they belong. Otherwise, they're going to leave. So that's not good for your retention.
Yeah, and I think at the presentation, a big focus topic was on the Hispanic demographic as a whole, right? Not splitting it into any smaller demographic populations, but as a whole. And I think you mentioned a couple key differences around one dimension versus multi, internal versus external, intention versus impact, and I really like that as well. Yeah, and I think one of the examples you gave was with or your partner that you presented with was around giving campus tours in person to students, and how the outreach for it was um, different because with Hispanic cultures, the whole family is involved with the tour, and so the tour itself was shifted more to accommodate not just the student, but their
Hmm.
parents, maybe their
Hmm.
extended family, their friends, and that made a huge impact in the campus tour as a specific tactic. So I really like that too.
No, I love that, Sharon. I think you're referring a little bit also to the importance of having cultural intelligence, cultural competencies, and I think every marketer should have those and should have cultural intelligence training and professional development in that area, which simply means that you are able to successfully relate to people from different cultures and backgrounds and ethnicities. And you have to understand very well the value systems that they have and the values that you have. And once you know and understand that, your interpersonal communication and your multicultural marketing is going to be more successful.
Definitely, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I did like how you're with your presentation. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but just from a logistical standpoint, by the numbers, the demographics are changing in the U.S. And so it's not just like, hey, we want to be nice to do this. This is actually, there's business impact, there's value for the country, and I like how you laid it out in those terms too.
There are projections that by 2060, 1 out of 3 Americans will be of Latino descent.
Yeah, no, that was really good data, and I liked how you also brought in, I think, economic impact too, not just population by demographic population, and so that was, I think, important too.
Right now, the Hispanic purchasing power is at $2 trillion, and the Selig Center for Economic Growth for the Terry College of Business at University of Georgia has economic impact by multicultural groups. So right now, think about if the Hispanic purchasing power it would be a part of the trillion club economies. It's amazing. Be there with Australia, definitely with Mexico, and all these countries. There are more Hispanics right now. If you think about demographics and population, there are more Hispanics in the United States right now than Canadians in Canada, for example. So those are things to start that we need to think about when we're doing our marketing. And my message, if you don't remember anything I said, but if you only have to remember one thing about multicultural marketing is do not do a separate plan for multicultural marketing. Just ensure your multicultural marketing is embedded in your overall strategy because multicultural marketing is marketing.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great point. I hope everyone takes that away. If you only learned one thing, and I remember you saying this at AMA too, and that was very powerful. So appreciate that. I know you also provided some tips for, hey, like let's say an institution is ready to have multicultural marketing as a part of their integrated overall marketing strategy.
Mhm.
Do you have any tips for schools on how to think of the right framework, staffing, and any strategy or tactic?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing I would do is I would do an internal assessment uh, about is it just to ensure that your university is actually prepared to do multicultural marketing. Do you have the programs in place? Do you have the resources to be able to support the students that are not only first generation Americans, which most uh, multicultural students are, just to be honest, a lot of them are. You have resources to support their foreign born parents or immigrants. I'm talking about language resources. Do you have admission counselors that are bilingual? Do you have materials ready, for example, in Spanish or any other language for the parents of the students? Sometimes we put young people in very difficult situations that, quite frankly, we should not do that. We should not put them in those situations. Like, for example, when you are when a kid is talking to next to mom, talking to a doctor, and having conversations or translating things that this kid probably shouldn't have to. Granted, we make tremendous progress as a country on that, and now most hospitals have uh, uh, certified translators and interpreting services. But there are still corners of our country that don't. So I think that we're behind the curve, to be honest with you, when it comes down to that as colleges and universities. So we need to make sure that we have all the resources so we can able to support this, because it's going to be extremely important to keep those numbers and retain those students, right? If they feel they belong, as I said earlier, they stay. If they think they don't, they will probably leave. That will be one thing. Make sure also that you have the know-how and cultural intelligence in place to be able to create messages that resonate well with the cultures and audiences you want to reach, right? The days of translation and translating messages literally are gone. They should be gone forever. They're dangerous. In my presentations, I always talk about, mistakes and missteps by big corporations. But the truth of the matter is that you need to be able to communicate the message, not translate the words. So ensure that if you don't have $1 million budget for research, most of us don't, not even close to that, make sure you ask the questions. Talk to the people that represent or reflect the audiences you want to reach. You want to reach to African American students? Talk to African American colleagues. Ask them, hey, does this make sense to you? Is this culturally appropriate? Same for Latinos, LGBTQ plus. Just ask questions. Have roundtable discussions around your college and university, and make sure that you don't do your multicultural plan in a vacuum. Make sure that you're working in tandem with other offices.
Thank you for that. And I think that's very, very powerful advice. And I liked your anecdotes about translating versus understanding the message and conveying
Right.
the right message. Yeah, I have a good example of that too. But yeah, so I know we talked about 3/4 marketing, and now we talked about multicultural marketing. How do those two fit together or cross over? And is it related to what you said about multicultural marketing is marketing?
Oh, absolutely. I was taking a look. I am a big European football, soccer we call it here, fan, and I noticed, for example, that big brands are multilingual brands. So, for example, Atletico de Madrid, not Real Madrid, but Atletico de Madrid, the other team in Madrid, which is the team I follow and I love. Their social media is trilingual, right? So sometimes their posts are not many times their posts have one line in English, one line in Spanish, and then one line in French, for example, because they are targeting their fan base in those. I mean, if you have those three languages covered, you're covering a lot. Sometimes you see a Chinese line on things. In my opinion, I think that you can, as I said earlier, when you're talking about multicultural marketing, do not do that as a silo or do something else. When I started in my career, that's how we did it. Oh, you got to do something for the Hispanics, so let's translate this brochure. No, no, no. That needs to be a part of the overall marketing plan, your global plan, if you will. So when you're thinking about social media, right? Sometimes if you feel that, let's say the 15% or there's a significant percentage um, of your student population who happen to be Hispanics, do some bilingual posting, English and Spanish. There's no harm in that. Make sure that you have somebody who understands and is native in the language to be able to approve that, to make sure it's making sense culturally. But do that. Send a hug, like I said, to these, spread the love with those markets. So embed it in your overall marketing plan. In terms of videos, right? For example, if you're doing on media, if you're doing a video, something I did once and I think worked really well, actually worked extremely well, is I had a video that have Spanish captions. The whole video was in English and it has Spanish captions for Spanish speaking parents of students. So they knew what that was happening. And I also make sure that you have good representation across your student population, that your marketing and your visuals are authentic, right? Let's don't have a brochure, for example, with 70% of the photos being Hispanics and African American, if indeed your campus only has a 5% representation of student body on that, because then your marketing would not be authentic. And when the students come to your campus, they'll be shocked a little bit just because it's not what they were expecting. So there's a lot that we can talk about. I spend many, many hours on this, but I think those are things that we should be mindful of.
Yep. It's loud and clear. multicultural marketing and your is marketing should be integrated with your
Yes,
overall plan. This has been
absolutely.
fantastic, Christian. I'm wondering, I think we're just at about time, so I'm wondering where our listeners can connect with you to learn about the work you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You can find me on LinkedIn. My personal handle is /IN /PONCE, Ponce. That's my last name. Again, /IN /PONCE. And then you can email me to my job email is jponce@odu.edu.
Well, thank you again, Christian. It's been amazing having you, and I love this conversation. So appreciate you joining.
Thank you so much.